Ms. Clark said very clearly on the loudspeakers, if you participate in the senior prank, which I've already found out about, you will get a 5-day suspension and you will not walk across the stage.
That's an earned honor to walk across that stage. And for you to take it away, no.
Mixed reactions tonight as students and parents filled a small boardroom at Sophie B. Wright Charter School to discuss the punishments of at least 25 students for a senior prank. The meeting was essentially canceled after not enough board members showed up to the planned meeting. Paul Dudley has the story.
Ma'am, excuse me, all of you.
Before entering the meeting at Sophie B. Wright Charter School, Wanda Evans seemed hopeful the board would reconsider the decision to ban her grandson from prom and graduation, as well as suspend him for 5 days for the prank that administrators say involved multiple students, a water fight, eggs, vinegar, and mustard.
I think the punishment is a little bit harsh. Come on, fine them $25. Do a couple of Saturdays detention.
School also says a student and teacher were hurt in the prank, though these students who were involved disagree.
The student that she claimed that got hurt, he was playing along with us. No teacher got hurt.
But there would be no change of punishment Tuesday. Within minutes of the meeting started, administrators said they didn't have enough board members to make quorum, thus canceling the meeting.
Why was the meeting scheduled if there wasn't going to be a quorum?
Not interrupting official session, right?
I couldn't get any answers, but Evans did.
Why was the board called if you didn't have the full members to conduct this meeting?
I wish I could tell you the number of times I've worked in board settings where, you know, for whatever reasons, board members just get caught up, they get caught in traffic. I represent a lot of boards, and it happens more often than we'd like to have it happen.
And Evans didn't buy it.
We talked before, you were optimistic that there might be some change, but that's not the case. What do you think?
A blind man could see that was a setup. A blind man.
School attorney Tracy Washington says for privacy reasons, students and parents will instead be given a chance to talk about the punishment at a closed one-on-one hearing Tuesday.
I'm a parent. I watch my child graduate from here, graduate as well. Of course it's something. And they get to talk about that at their hearing.
Ahead of time, the school says Principal Sharon Clark told the students multiple times to not participate in the prank, but students here are still left feeling frustrated.
For her to take graduation and prom from us is just unbelievable.
Paul Dudley, Eyewitness News.
We tried to ask administrators about the claims that a student and teacher were hurt, but they were not able to comment. In the meantime, parents were given appeal forms. The private hearings should start next Tuesday.